Hello! Oh no. Okay. Why isn't my... I forgot to turn on my big drawing tablet. I'm so professional. So good at the things, guys. Hello! We're drawing cat girls still. As you can see in the top right corner of the big screen, I've got the little cat girl, like the little preview of her, and because I'm all zoomed in right now, I've been working on these while I was sick, but I was well enough to like get up and at least sit at my desk. I was working on all these cat girls, and I managed to get through all of them except for this last one that I have sketched out. So once I finish her, this will be the last of the cat girls for a little bit. She's not going away forever. It's really fun to draw her. She's really cute. And I have a lot more reference pictures picked out already, but I have other projects I have to work on. So right now I'm working on shading the hair. Oh, and for the other cat girl drawings, the speed paints will be posted on YouTube, like one for each week on Saturdays. My YouTube channel is down. It's just Gingersnap Draws. I'm still a little phlegmy from having COVID, so I'll try not to clear my throat too much into the microphone. I've got Gatorade right next to me, so I shouldn't cough a whole lot, I hope. I felt really bad because it was right after the holidays. It was cool, I can go back to streaming, I'll go back to work, things are great, I'm getting settled into my schedule at my new job, and then disease. It was not a good time. I do not recommend that you get COVID. 0 out of 10 do not recommend. I'm vaccinated, but I haven't been able to get my booster shot yet, just with issues with getting a doctor's appointment over here. And so even though it was a little bit easier on me than it might have been, it was still terrible. Hi, Spectre! How have you been? I feel like I haven't gotten a chance to really talk to you in a while. I mean, I know we're both on Discord and we say hi to each other and things like that, but this feels different. On the fence about what? Getting your booster shot or your COVID vaccination? Or getting COVID? Now that Ginger says it's not a good time, I guess I won't go get infected. Oh god. I grew up as a very sick kid with just a weak ass immune system, so I've been really sick before in my life, and this has been this was the sickest I have been in a while. You won't go start licking doorknobs and toilet seats. Did you guys know that was a trend at the very beginning of the pandemic back in 2020? It became a trend very briefly on TikTok for teenagers to lick public use items and post videos of it where they were I can't get COVID. And yeah. Oh, that's awful. If I get food poisoning, I'm very lucky is that it's usually either 24 hours or like a 48 hours. I get super sick and then I'm done. But yeah, I had a fever for 2 or 3 straight days. Weeding out the week. So I had a fever for like 2 straight days, and it was probably close to like 104, 103. And it was awful. You lost 5 pounds in 24 hours of food poisoning. That is terrifying. That I didn't even know you could lose that much body weight from just diarrhea. That's so scary. I don't even know. I would have gone to the hospital. I would have been like, I just lost 5 pounds in 24 hours, and my high school health teacher told us we're not supposed to lose more than 3 pounds in a month, and I would like to go to the ER now. The weird thing, so I've been told, oh no. I hope you're doing like better health-wise, because it sounds like you might have had, from starting a diet right after, it sounds like you might have had a few a few health issues before that, but I don't know. That's so scary. Oh, that's so scary. So I've been told I have a very high pain tolerance. I don't know how to judge that because you can. Oh, okay. I mean, that's kind of like a thing in America where it's a big issue, but I understand it. Like, there are people who have trouble losing weight and gaining weight, and then there are also people who have trouble just consistently having a healthy weight. It's a whole thing. I try not to judge as long as you're taking care of yourself and you're happy and you're not dying. I have a lot of issues gaining weight. The only way I've been able to gain weight like consistently and quickly and get over 100 pounds is when I started running every other day. And then I got lazy. I was like, I'll keep the weight on. Nope, I'm back to like 98 pounds. What was it? Shit. I've been told I have a really high pain tolerance. I don't know how you judge that because everyone's idea of pain is going to be different based on their own experiences. So I feel like I'm a big baby when it comes to pain because, like, as soon as it's like past something I can put up with, I'm like, okay. So the only times I've gone to the hospital for pain was when I either threw up from being in so much pain or when I fainted from being in so much pain. And it's only happened a couple of times. But when it comes to nausea and like when it comes to just general nausea, I am such a baby. I get like a little bit of a stomach ache and I'm like, I can't do anything. I can't get up. I can't. If I move, I'll die. Jesus Christ, man. I don't know. Like, that's impressive, but I don't know if I'm worried about you a little bit now. Like, that scares me. Like, I have oh god. So my dad told me this story when I was younger. My dad is one of those guys where if he has a broken toe, he'll like set it himself because he doesn't want to go to the doctor. But when my dad was in college, he had like this mountain bike that he would ride everywhere. And he lived in a small town, so he could do that. And he was riding to his buddy, I'm gonna call him Ted. That's not his name, but he's like still friends with my dad. Like I call him like my uncle, whatever his name is. My Uncle Ted in this scenario because that's how close him and my dad are. Anyway, so he's riding his bike over to him and he's crossing the street and there's no crosswalk, there's no light because it's a tiny ass fucking town, and a car hits him. Oh my god. If you have 104-degree fever in oh god. Anyway, so he's biking over to his friend's house. He's going across the road and he a car hits him, and the bike, like, the tire hits the side of the car, and then the bike flips over, and he is holding onto the bike, so he flips with it, so he flips over the hood of the car, and he lands on the other side. Okay? That's insane. And the guy just drives off. Like, he doesn't check to make sure my dad's okay, doesn't check to make sure that the bike is okay, just leaves my dad there, basically in a pile on the side of the road. And my dad's like, well, I don't want to die on the side of the road. So he gets up. His front bike tire is now like a fucking oval, right? Because it hit the side of the car so hard. So he can't ride his bike. And he's still got like 3 or 4 miles to get to where his buddy lives in his apartment. So he has to carry the bike because he didn't want to damage it any more than it was by like trying to like drag it or walk it. And it was an expensive bike, and it was like his only way of getting around. So he's carrying the bike. He just knows that his ankle really hurts, and he can't move like his left arm. He can't move it. He dislocated the shoulder. So he can't really move it. So he's using, like, he's got the bike propped up kind of on his other shoulder, and he's carrying it. He carries it to his friend's house. His friend lived in an apartment that was like an old apartment above a convenience store in the downtowns. And Jesus Christ, I've dislocated my knee a couple of times, but never my shoulder. And so he had to go up this like tiny, skinny, like set of stairs, right? That had one like safety bar on the side. And he also didn't have a lock for his bike. And he was like, if I leave my bike here, it will get stolen. So he shifts the bike over to the shoulder that's dislocated. Too many books. Oh, that's so cute. To his bad shoulder that's dislocated. And he's essentially just dragging himself up these stairs with his good arm. He had also like sprained his ankle. He gets up to the top of the apartment and his buddy sees him and he's like, oh man, we have to get you to the hospital. And my dad's like, all right, that sounds good. And then he proceeds to carry his bike back down the stairs. And his friend puts it in the back of his car and drives him to the hospital. My dad's like, it was the most pain I have ever been in, but I did it. And like, as a kid, I was like, my dad's so cool. As an adult, I'm like, my dad, what? Why did he? I don't know, because he didn't want to forget it or lose it, or like, my dad is paranoid about his things. He grew up very poor, so he doesn't like to like leave the things that he really cares about in the care of other people. Because he's like, if it's gonna get stolen or messed up, I'd rather be mad at myself than like also be mad at my friend for it happening. Yeah, he couldn't, because it was like the fucking 80s or like very like early 90s. So he didn't have a cell phone. And he didn't, I guess, have money for a payphone. Yeah. Back in the 90s, you couldn't just call the hospital to come get you. You had to go to the hospital. Yeah. That was one of my favorite stories as a kid, because I was like, my dad's so cool, my dad's so tough, and as an adult, I'm like, my dad could have died. Something really stupid I did in middle school when I had all of like a bunch of textbooks to carry, but at my middle school, I went to middle school like after the various shootings had happened, so we were technically not allowed to bring backpacks to the class. And we didn't have a lot of time to go back and forth through our locker, so when I had to carry a bunch of textbooks, I would like balance them on my head. And I would walk to class that way. Like a fucking weirdo. Because I only did it for a couple of years, so I have like most of my life I've totally forgotten that fact, and then once in a while people will talk about like going to class or like, oh, and then he carried my books, and I'm like, oh yeah, I carried all my books. on my fucking head. I think that might have been where I got it from. I might have, like, in my social studies class had seen that and been like, oh, that looks really smart. But it definitely makes you like, if you don't think you're the weird kid, if you don't think anyone knows that you're weird, and you want them to, and you want to telegraph that very loudly and clearly to a point where no one forgets it, even like your senior year of high school, carry your books on your head, kids. I don't do a lot of book carrying anymore, and I think if I did, I wouldn't do it on my head anymore. Because I do remember, like, getting a little bit of neck pain and head pain after doing it, like, when I had to get used to it. But anyway, how have people been? Toastman and Spectre, how have you guys been? There you go, now you have your tablet. Now you don't need to... I do like actual books a bit more than reading on a tablet. I understand the benefits of reading on a tablet. That's fine. Yeah. I do like having regular books, like, in my hand to read, though. It also just helps me focus a lot more visually. Like, if I'm reading with a book on a page rather than a tablet. Oh, that's fair. You could just get either huge reading glasses, or you could buy books with large print. They're probably more expensive, though, because it requires, like, more paper and materials and blah, 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 blah. I want to read more, I just do not have the time. You have trifocus lenses. Do they have does that mean that they have the little things that, like, flip down, where when you want to look at something really tiny, like the micro lenses on your glasses, you can, like, adjust them and flip them up, like the, I don't even know how to explain what I'm trying to say. You know how you used to be able to get sunglasses, attachments to your glasses, and you could flip them down and it would make your regular glasses look like sunglasses? Those, but with, oh, I guess that's fair. I'm just a little disappointed because I got excited. I fucked up my vision as a kid because I decided very early on. Oh! Don Uwu XD. Thank you for the follow. I'm just gonna call you Don if that's okay. I don't know why I did it twice, but I did it twice. You know, I'm getting used to it. I did mean to turn it down before this stream, and I totally forgot. Sorry. But, what was I? Oh, as a kid, I decided I was going to be emo very early on in my life. So ever since I was very small, I had my hair, like my bangs or just a large chunk of my hair just covering my left eye all the time. Like, this started in kindergarten. I'm not kidding. My parents would tell me every day almost, like, you're going to fuck up your vision. You're, like, you're terrible distance sighted. What the fuck? And it gave me acne as, like, a teenager. I don't do it really anymore. I still kind of sweep my bangs off to that side a little bit just because it's habit, but I don't cover my eyes as much. But the vision in my left eye is, like, 5 levels, like, worse than my right eye. And what's even more ridiculous is I went to the eye doctor and they're like, oh, you're left eye dominant. And I'm like, oh, what does that mean? They're like, well, you're supposed to be able to see better in your left eye. Like, you look for things more. It's the dominant eye. And I'm like, okay, well, why am I so blind? They're like, because your left eye sucks. They didn't say it like that, but essentially, I can't, it's so bad. Oh yeah, we planned on doing that as soon as Art feels well enough. He's still not feeling well enough to stream yet. But I'm glad you liked it, Spectre. It was really fun. It was kind of a last minute idea, and it did stress Art out a little bit because he was like, what are we going to do for New Year's? I was like, well, you haven't streamed in a little while, and I know you wanted to do that, and it's a holiday, but we're not going to any parties because of COVID. I was like, and we like playing games together, and whenever we play games together, most of it is me sitting off to the side, making fun of the... Yep, the hair did it. It's me sitting off to the side, kind of making fun of the game, and just trying to make Art laugh, because that's what I like to do. And he's like, we should stream together. So when he was like, what should we do for New Year's? I was like, what if we stream together? Yes, we do. So we were very, very careful, and we wore masks and we social distanced, and we only saw people who were vaccinated. But Nick's great-grandmother was in hospice, and they had a very close relationship. So we went to go see her, and she had an unmasked visit with, even though we wore masks and we still socially distanced as much as we could, and there weren't really any other visitors while we were there, she did have an unmasked visit with one of Art's one of his other family members who ended up not being vaccinated and having COVID. So we think that that's how we got it. Thankfully, like, we didn't see anyone right after. Yeah. But it's really good that we got to see her. And as sick as COVID made us, like, we were vaccinated, we were still very safe about it, and our symptoms were still very mild. So I don't think either of us regrets the decision, because in that situation, it's really difficult to decide if you have enough time left, and we got very lucky that we could still go see her. Or Art got very lucky because he was much closer with her than I ever was. It was his grandmother. And actually, we're going through a similar situation with my own great-grandmother, who, right before the lockdown happened, she had to go into, like, a rehabilitation and nursing facility because she had a bunch of strokes, like, a couple weeks before the entire state went into lockdown, and they were like, we can't bring any more patients into the facility. She got in. And so she's vaccinated, but I do have relatives that are anti-vax and that will still go see her. The facility she's in are very strict about, like, masks and everything. But every time we go, it's kind of like a gamble of, okay, well, she's had a few strokes. She might not recognize us if we wear our masks. If we don't wear our masks, we might risk getting sick. If we don't go see her, like, this might be the last chance we get to. And so every time you're in that situation, which is a bit more of it's not the average, I think, COVID situation, but it is a little bit more widespread than I think people believe. You have to make that awful tough decision of, do I get to say goodbye, or do I have to wait? And it's awful. And honest to God, if there's anyone who's anti-vax on my channel, you can leave. I've lost someone who was very close to me due to COVID, and I'm not putting up with that bullshit. I swear to God. I've blocked family members. I've cut people who were like older siblings to me out of my life. I'm not putting up with it. And that's my real talk for the night. Thank you for my TED Talk. Talk about anime cat girls. Still haven't decided on a name for her yet. Oh, but the co-streaming. We do plan on trying to, if Art is feeling better later in the week, we are gonna try to co-stream next Friday again. Yeah, thankfully I haven't lost too many family members to COVID or to anti-vax propaganda. But it's still hard to see. It's hard to see from any perspective, and it's hard to make that decision. But I think it's harder to just sit there and watch the person that you knew or grew up with turn into someone that you don't recognize. And it's truly awful. And you know, when this first started, and I was like, all of my family members are very educated, and they are, and I never thought I would have to, but I'd say like, yeah, I'd do it. It's super easy. Like I just in a heartbeat. But yeah. Are you talking about in the conversation? I'm kind of like that, which is terrible, and I know, and I'm really sorry about it, but that's just weirdly how I am, where I'm just like, let's talk about this, and then that leads to this, and let's talk about this, and let's talk about this. It took him a few years to learn how to keep up with my logic, and so now I'm used to just talking to him and being able to just talk, and then I remember, oh yeah, I should interact with other people. I remember that not everyone thinks either as quickly or jumps to the conclusions that I do. I apologize because I've had people have issues with it. And it is something I work on. Art and I are trying to come up, because Art and I, we play very different games. I like playing single player games, I like playing horror games, I like doing like kind of weird stuff like that. He plays very like mechanic heavy or very difficult games, or games that have like a large player base. Yeah, that's fair. I had a cousin, when she would talk, it sounded like she was basically just like humming. It was insane. But Art and I play very different kinds of video games, so actually when we were trying to figure out what we were doing for New Year's, we went through like both of our lists of games for like 2 or 3 times, just like, no, yes, no, no, yes, no. So we're coming up with an agreement where I'm probably gonna have to play multiplayer games and shooter games and games that I'm not super comfortable with, ones that I'm not very excited about. And he is absolutely going to have to play horror games. Every time he makes me play a game that like I don't know how to play or I'm not super comfortable with, he has to play a horror game with me on stream. So if it becomes like a normal thing that we do regularly, it might be like 1 week is Ginger's game and 1 week is Art's game, or we'll play Art's game until it's finished and then we'll play Ginger's game, which I think would be cool. There had better be. I absolutely do not want to play on any game where I am not on the same team as Art, because he is terrifyingly good at games. And nobody seems to know that. Like, every time I talk to him about it, he's like, I'm not good at games, I'm bad. I'm like, no. I will fight you. He'll play games like Stellaris, and he's like, I'm bad at this. And I'm like, you see how far you got? Not even. That might be cool. Or like we could have like subscribers or viewers in the Discord like maybe vote on it if we can't decide between a game. But the issue is it's his community, so they're gonna be a little biased. They're either gonna be biased against him or for him. So I don't think any of you. Art, stop it. You're not allowed. You can't come on my stream and bash yourself. No, I'm not. I've seen a lot. I had to watch the stupid League of Legends tournament. Hi, if you've ever gone out with someone and you've made them watch a tournament of any video game that they're uninterested in, do you know what you've done to them? You've suddenly decided in their head that they're never gonna date anyone who plays this game ever. That's what happened. I dated a guy all through high school who was obsessed with League of Legends, okay? To a point where at one point we were on a date and he told me that, cause he had gotten dropped off, cause we were like 15, like neither of us could drive or had a car. he got dropped off, and then in the middle of our date, he got a phone call from his friend who was like, I was in a ranked game and I lost my internet. And he was like, oh, if I had a car or like we were even just a little bit closer to my house, I would totally have just left our date. We had been dating for like a year. We had been dating for a year, and he was like, I would just leave our date that we get to have like once every other week or once a week because we went to different fucking high schools. And my parents were super strict, and he's like, so that I could take care of his game for him. And I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck? So my big rule for dating going into college was if they say they play League of Legends, I'm done. Okay? Art used to play Eve when we dated, and that was fine, okay? Like, I was mostly okay with it. It took up a lot of time, but I was mostly okay with it. When we first started dating, I went on, like, he let me go on his computer, a rare thing, okay? And I saw, like, the League of Legends little icon, and I was like, do you play League of Legends? I was ready to end it right there. I was ready to walk out. I was not putting myself through that bullshit again. I had to watch the fucking tournaments! And he was like, oh no, I used to play in high school. I just have it on the computer. And that saved our entire relationship. And then I made him watch Rubber, so I kind of owed him. So, like, if he suddenly decided to start playing League of Legends after I made him watch Rubber, I had to take it for a little bit. He didn't, but... Never again. Never again. I dated a lot of nerdy guys. Only one of them has ever been a League player. I won't do it. I won't even date a girl if she plays League. I won't. And that's a weird standard, I know, but if I met a girl that I wanted to date and she played League, I don't know if I could do it. Actually, I might, because it, like, League is, like, a weirdly super toxic, like, player base, I feel like. Either you're really good and you're, like, a well-rounded adult, or you're a man-child. I don't know. But this is just for League, not video games in general. This is just for League. As I bash League players, I'm gonna get, like, hate mail or some shit. I feel like if I wanted to date a girl who played League, like, professionally, I'd be like, you can put up with a lot of bullshit. Alright, maybe this could work. I mean, you're gonna run into that a little bit with every, multiplayer game, which is part of why I play single player games. Because I don't put up with people very well. I don't put up with people on a good day. I am very wary of humans. But I just can't with League players. And I know it's a super popular game. Like, how? I have more understanding and forgiveness for people who play Fortnite than I do for League players. Too many aliens. I don't know if you're talking about the alien game that Art was playing or what, but so that's my rant about League players. Actually, so when I first brought Art home to meet my extended family, I was like, you'll get along great with my uncle. He also plays a lot of video games, right? Because I didn't know the reputation that Eve players have among other gamers, right? And Art is not like most other Eve players that I've met. Actually, most of the Eve players I've met have been through Art, and they've been pretty cool. But I've heard bad things about other Eve players. So he meets my family. They don't play online games. My brother's too young at this point to play online games. And he meets my uncle. My uncle's like, oh, what games do you play? He goes, I play Eve. Oh, okay. Maybe? I don't know. Generally, I don't like being asked too many questions right when I wake up. I don't like being spoken to when I'm hungry. I don't like when people are loud. I don't trust when people are too quiet. I have a very strong sense of stranger danger to a point where I actively avoid meeting people. I get annoyed very easily. I am not a people person. I'm like the angry cat at the shelter that no one, like everyone wants to adopt, but will actively like destroy their foster home. That's not to say I try to. Even when I try, I somehow fail. I'm really bad with people. I try to be very friendly. All of my jobs have said that I'm a very friendly person. I work in customer service and they love me, but I'm just not good with people. Which is hilarious because Art is amazing with people. Because I met Art before he was a streamer and before he got really sick, and he was just like this extroverted butterfly. And I don't think he had honestly ever dated someone as introverted as I am. Because like I would be at his apartment and he would be on his way home because his apartment was kind of far from the college dorms I was at, so I'd stay there like the whole weekend, right? So I'd get there after class on Friday, he'd have work, and I would make dinner, or I would like start working on like whatever homework I had. And sometimes I would just get a phone call and he'd be like, "What are you doing right now?" And I'm like, "I don't know." I'd be in his pajamas. I would be like stretched out on the floor of the bedroom, just hanging, like vibing, okay? Alone. I'm like ready to see one person for the whole weekend. And he'd be like, "Why don't we go have dinner with all of my coworkers?" What? He'd be like, "Yeah, can we go?" I was like, "When do you want to do this?" He's like, "Right now." What? When is right now? I will be home in 15 minutes. I've washed off my makeup. My hair is a mess. I'm not fed, so I'm hungry, and I should never meet people when I'm hungry. And I'm like either in the middle of working on an art project or in the middle of reading something or cooking. He did it once while I was cooking. Like he did it once while I was cooking dinner. He knew I was gonna cook dinner, and all of a sudden, like I'd spent like 3 hours on fucking dinner, and he was like, "Let's go to dinner with my coworkers right now." And I'm like, I can't just box up all this food, and I smell like fried rice, and I look like yeah. When we first started going out, I was like, here's this rule. You cannot ask me to do anything with other people without at least an hour's notice. And if there's gonna be more than 2 people and I've never met them before, I need a full day. And he was like, seriously? Fucking seriously. Art is actually very good at planning. Sometimes he'll overplan. But then he's just like suddenly like, spontaneous. He's just really good with people. He just gets like in the rhythm with people, and he wants to keep it going. He's like, "Let's keep the party going." And I'm like, "No, stop the party. Make everyone go home." Oh god, I did that once. So when I was, for most of my college career, I worked at this shitty pizza place. I think I've talked about it many times. I tend to, because it was terrible. And I would get home on like Saturday nights to my college like townhouse with my 3 other roommates, who did not work on the fucking weekends, by the way. And I'd get home at 4 or 5 in the morning. I had been at work since 5 in the morning, so I've been awake for 12 hours. And my roommates would, like, I'd be leaving, or it would be during the week. They're like, "Hey, we want to throw a party. Who can come?" And I'd be like, "Oh, okay, well, I have to work, but I won't be there. So, but just make sure nobody goes in my room." I'd lock my door. Everything was fine. Like, I liked my roommates. What I did not like was the people they would invite over. I knew most of these people, was on a first name basis with most of these people, still did not enjoy their company. I would get home at 5 in the goddamn morning. I would just want to go to bed because then I had to work another 12-hour shift. Like, if I came home on a Friday, I'd have to work the next Saturday, the next day. So I just wanted them out of my fucking house. But we also lived in a not very good neighborhood. So these people would be like, oh, you can go to bed. We'll just leave. I was like, do you have a key? No. Well, how are you going to lock the door? It'll be fine. No. No. Not doing that. So there was this one time where this girl was really persistent. She's like, I'm just going to sober up. I'm just going to sober up. I'm like, fine, good. Sober up. Sober up in an Uber. Get out of my house. Yeah, I got home at 5. I'm sweaty. I smell like pizza. I look just angry, right? And I look dead tired. And there's 4 people in my living room. All of my roommates had already gone to fucking bed, okay? So these are just party people in my goddamn house. And I think that this was part of the reason, more than the look. I think this was part of the reason why my roommates did it a little bit, because they'd be like, Ginger will kick them out. But they're like, we just wanted to sober up. It's fine. I'm like, okay, you can sleep on the couch. I didn't care if people were sleeping on the couch. I just did not want the front door to be left unlocked, because I have lived in bad neighborhoods for a lot of my life. It's not safe, okay? I am 5'1". I was like, I don't want to go to bed and then wake up to either have all of the stuff in the living room gone or have somebody I don't know try to crawl into the bed with me. So I didn't care if they slept on the couch. I cared about them being like, we're gonna sober up and then leave, because that means that even if you later say you're gonna sleep on the couch, I don't trust that you're gonna stay on the couch. You might just wait for me to go to bed, and then you'll just leave my house and you'll leave my front door unlocked like a piece of shit. Yeah, nobody else wanted to be the bad guy. I did not care. I did not like these people, so I was like, I don't care if they hate me. They can fucking hate me. It's no skin off my back. We have the party house. If they don't want to come to the parties because of me, then they can't come. Like, that was... I got aggressive about it, okay? I care very much about the amount of sleep I get. So yeah, so I once sat for an entire hour. It was 5 in the morning. It was 6 in the morning. By the time they left, the sun was coming up. I had to work the next night, and I'm just watching this bitch eat Cheetos to sober up. She wasn't even driving. I was just essentially just like, get out of my goddamn house. Yeah. I don't miss. Okay, sometimes I miss being young and being in college and being, I say that like I'm old. I'm 24. Sometimes I miss being like 20 years old and not totally giving a shit, and like being in college and just having like a few things where I'm like, ah. Now if I had roommates, yeah. Kind of. She was a bit like that. They also tried to tell me, they were fucking theater majors, and they tried to tell me that my degree would get me nowhere. I'm like, I'm sorry. You're a theater major. Okay, I'm gonna stop being so angry. I got off of work. And I'm just being grumpy. Like, no degree is entirely useless. It exists because it's a field of work. But do not sit there and tell me my degree means nothing when you are a theater major. Ah, you are the last person, the last type of people who get to talk down to me. Brr, 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 brr. Okay. Okay, challenge me on that. Go for it. Oh my god, that's a degree? Okay, so. Backing up, is it a degree or is it a class? Because a lot of colleges will have classes or experimental classes that are like kind of new sections of departments to see if it can be a degree or if it can be like a minor or an emphasis. Are we talking about, oh, it's in China? That doesn't totally surprise me. I feel like it's like attached to like a marketing degree or a I'm trying to think, like, not marketing, but search engine optimization degree, where it's less about being an influencer and it's more about knowing how to grow a community and essentially doing what a streamer does, but on different social media platforms. Because, like, if you wanted it to be a job, being an influencer can be fucking hard. Okay? There are people who, like, it's one of the easiest, like, job fields to just suck at and essentially do nothing and still have a moderate amount of success if you're attractive. Okay? Just like with streaming. Like, there are definitely some streamers that I've seen where I'm like, you are getting by on your looks or your rage quits alone. And eventually that will stop, that'll get you as far as it can, and then you will have nothing left. And there are a lot of influencers like that. It's just that it's easier to pick on influencers because their job is to look pretty. Is the easiest way to be a... I've heard some things about Brain's opinions, and I don't know if I want to talk to him, especially with the rant I had a little bit earlier. This one's funny. Okay. The easiest way to be a streamer. I'm gonna try and imagine the easiest way to be a streamer. For starters, be born a lady. Okay, you don't even have to, for starters, be born a lady. Be passable as a lady. Like, look like a pretty lady. Not a pretty man. Be a pretty lady. And that, as much as I hate it, is true to a certain degree. It doesn't mean that if you're a female streamer, you can't put work into it and earn your community. People, like, there are plenty of female streamers who do. I mean, that's a little bit of what I'm trying to do, where I'm trying to put in the work and the effort and show content and be a content creator and not just sit in a hot tub. There are ones that work hard. And then there just happens to be more female streamers than there are male streamers that don't work hard and instead just get by on the fact that the blood for a guy's brain can only be in one place at once. And to be fair, there are very attractive male streamers who also get by on that. Who also, like, are not as good as streamers as they could be and instead get by on the fact that there are teenage girls who will lose their minds. I mean, look at Justin Bieber's entire goddamn career, okay? There was a girl I knew I had in high school who was still obsessed with Justin Bieber. She would buy the folders, she would buy the notebooks, she would buy the t-shirts, she would go to the concerts. This was when Justin Bieber was like, had like shaved half his head and gotten all the tattoos and was trying to rap. Like, he had nothing. He had nothing. I truly hate it. What my dad thinks is hilarious is, you know when you're a teenager and you hate things, just pure, unrefined, just hatred, where even if it's mentioned, you're like, ugh, don't even, right? Bullshit like that. I had that feeling toward Justin Bieber. Just because there were so many girls in my goddamn middle school who were obsessed with him, okay? It was fucking annoying. And my dad used to be a DJ. So even though he's not a DJ anymore, he still got all the equipment. He tries to stay on top of, like, the more modern music. Like, he has his own taste, but he'll still listen to the radio sometimes and, like, try to find, like, new songs that he likes, regardless of the artist. Well, he found a song that my mom happened to like. My mom kind of likes the more, like, 80s, kind of, like, dance music type stuff, and that's still kind of like the way a lot of music is nowadays. It's a little less, but a lot of it is still similar to club music. Well, there's this one where it's I can't remember who sings it, but it's like that weird, like, pop dance music that's halfway between, like, pop and rap, where, like, it's rap for most of it, but then, like, the chorus hits and everyone can sing it, right? And my mom liked that song. Well, I was in middle school, so I also liked that song because I heard my mom play it in the car all the time, right? The only part I could sing was the chorus. I thought the chorus was sung by a woman. As it turns out, the chorus was sung by Justin Bieber. And I remember my dad just sing quietly in the car while it was playing on the radio at one point, and then the song ends, and he just turned down the radio, and he was just like, Ginger was just singing along to Justin Bieber. And my life, like, I thought I was gonna die. I was 13 years old, and I was like, my life is over. What have I done? It was so ridiculous. So every once in a while, if anyone talks about Justin Bieber, which is weirdly like a topic that comes up more often than you would think, just because he'll do something extreme or dramatic, and my grandparents would bring it up and be like, this is what happens when you give young people money, right? My dad would be like, he would bring up that story, and he'd be like, I remember that moment. Oh, it was amazing. Because I was so angry. I'm realizing that a lot of the times that people, the biggest reaction people try to get out of me is when I'm angry, because apparently it's very funny until it's directed at them, and then I'm told it's very scary. I think I'm just loud, and I try not to be very loud. I do remember Art having that moment. When we were going out, of course I would spend the most time with Art. So whenever Art would see me angry, it would usually be because we were having a fight. We did not fight very often, but when it happened, they were bad. Well, there was one time when I got really, really angry at somebody else, and I just needed time to like vent and rant, and I was like, can I just vent to you for a little bit? He was like, yeah, no, that's fine. I'm so glad that my reactions, because it doesn't feel like an overreaction, just how I am. I'm like this 24/7. I'm a lot as a person, I'm told. Anyway, so he lets me vent for a little bit, and he starts kind of like laughing, and I'm like, what is so funny? He's like, when it's not at me, this is hilarious. I'm like, fuck you. But also, I'm one of the quietest members of my family. I'm not the quietest, but I'm one of the quietest. So it's like, it amazes me that like the reason that people, because I've been told that I can be intimidating. I'm 5'1". I weigh barely 100 pounds. I am not intimidating. That is because I'm loud. And I'm like, that the quiet person is who scares me. Because you don't know what they're doing. You don't know what they're planning. They could be planning to murder everyone, and you would never fucking know. Until it happened. I'm not the quietest. I'm like, I want to say the 4th quietest in my family. I mean, everyone has their moments. Like, everyone in my family knows how to be quiet. We're all human. Like, we all have an inside voice. Actually, my work, like the biggest thing my boss has told me so far, he's like, you're just so quiet. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm doing my job. I'll be friendly if you talk to me, but I don't know you people. Oh, there's clapping in the song, and I thought it was someone like lightly tapping on the wall in my house. I was like, who got into my house? So we still haven't 100% picked a name for our cat girl. I kind of like the Lay Lolo. But just drink Gatorade. realizing that I hadn't opened it yet, so I don't know if you guys heard that, and I'm sorry. Hey, I recently just started weirdly craving Gatorade. Which is... Whenever, I don't know if... I feel like this is true for a lot of girls. But whenever you start weirdly craving things, like even if I'm literally on my period, my brain's just like, are you pregnant? And so a couple weeks ago, I just started craving Gatorade. And I hate Gatorade. No. So after drinking Gatorade for like 2 weeks straight almost, I was like, wait. Am I pregnant? I'm not. I was not. I had a menstrual cycle. But it was really scary. Cause anytime I start craving healthy food, I'm like, my body might just be dying, or it's so weird. It is the worst. It is the worst game of Russian roulette ever. You can be as safe as possible, but I don't know. Maybe it's the U.S. like sex education program, but they're like, you'll never know until you know, and I'm like, what does that mean? Okay, now comes the fun part of the stream where I merge all of the layers one at a time. Now with this cat girl, I feel like I got very like Yu-Gi-Oh-ish in the style. Like the other ones I feel like are much softer and rounder, and this one she's got like sharp angles on the jacket, and she's got these sharp eyelashes, which I never added before, and her hair has like sharper like pachoo, and her ears are pointier. I feel like I just went all out with the heart of the cards. All that bullshit. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about the shading on like this side of the face, because I feel like it's too big and it flattens her out, but I will be doing like more shading, so I guess it makes sense. Okay. Go away! What is this? Did you fix it? Thank you. That was me asking Art, who's in the same room, if he helped mod my channel. Because I still don't 100% know how to ban people. Doesn't mean I won't learn quickly. For the people who are totally watching, who are like, that means I can say terrible things. I don't know. I don't know what you guys do. The more time I spend on the internet, the more I feel like the mom at like a middle school or like very early teenagers sleepover birthday party, where I like show up and I'm like, I get it, guys. I was also your age at one point, and I have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. That's just my entire life right now. That's just how I roll, I guess. Ah, shit, fuck. I'm the cool mom in the 80s horror movie. I'm the cool mom from Chucky. She made sure her baby didn't die, okay? She did good. She did a good mom job. Chucky is one of the only classic horror movies I've ever seen. As much as I love horror, I have a hard time sitting through movies. And I also like weird horror movies. That's what I like. Like Rubber or Holidays. Why am I not just... There we go. Okay. Why am I doing it like this? Because I am going to fade it with the other brushes. That's the word. Other brushes. Official term. Okay, I have to stop for a minute, take off my sweatshirt because it's a pullover hoodie, and I should probably not have worn a pullover hoodie to stream. That noise was me pulling the pullover hoodie over my head and leaning back in my chair, and then the chair tipped like it's supposed to tip because it's how chairs work, and I thought I was about to fall. So that was me screaming and then hitting my knee on the desk. I guess it wasn't really a scream, it was more of like a squeak. So I watched the new episode of SAO Abridged that just came out. I feel like every year that I watch SAO Abridged, I relearn the fact that they only put out one episode a year. Cause Art and I were talking about it, and he was like, well, this is like the only episode they'll put out this year. I was like, what happened? Why? And he was like, they only put out one episode a year, Ginger. It's always been like that. And I've been watching them for like 6 years, so I can't believe that I'd never like it. Yeah. So, it's amazing. And if you've never seen SAO Abridged, I highly recommend it. I recommend it more than actual SAO. Sword Art Online Abridged. Is that the one where Kirito thinks that he lives in the video game? Okay, so I stopped watching SAO on after the whole Gun Gale arc. I was like, you know what? They keep continuing like the same storyline essentially over and over, and I just don't wanna. You can only handle so much like implied creepy things. Oh, it's a reboot of the original? Is it good? I'm so scared. Cause I thought I'd watched the original Sword Art Online and I was like, this is gonna be awesome. Okay, you know what? So that makes a little bit more sense. I was like, this was great. I wanna watch the next one, so I watched the next one, right? And they did like the whole weird creepy sister incest thing and like the creepy like implied but definitely their sexual assault scene and like all of this stuff, and I was like, I don't know if I want to continue watching this. And then I watched Gun Gale and I was like, oh, this is just dumb. So yeah, so I'm very nervous to actually watch any of like the official Sword Art Online stuff. Okay. So I watched Sword Art Online and I liked it and I was like, this is great, right? And then I watched Sword Art Online Abridged and I was like, this is amazing. And then I tried to go back to like rewatching Sword Art Online, because sometimes watching like the parody of something or a movie or something or like a remake of something, I then want to rewatch the original. I could not watch the original Sword Art Online after watching Sword Art Online Abridged, because the Abridged is just so funny. Oh, is it like, so when they, at least from what I remember, they like, essentially Japan was like, well, all these fucking weirdos who spent an entire year in a game have real bad, PTSD, and they can't function in normal society anymore, so we're essentially gonna close them off inside their own town, and all the high schoolers are gonna go to their own school. Is it like in that, where they're basically dating in high school at the school that they send all of the sword art, all of the kids to? Well, but you said they spend more time on each floor, so I guess no, it's just like a complete remake. Okay. Okay. I would definitely give Sword Art Online on YouTube a watch, though. It's amazing. Honestly, it's amazing. And it's all fan made, so like they're doing it for free, and they have really good quality for doing it for free. I'm not liking how her hair is turning out right now. Oh, that's really cool. Is it on, what are you watching it on? So I can try to take a look. Oh, okay, so is it like a manga or is it a series of books? Like novels? Oh, okay. Well, yeah, the manga probably takes longer because they have to wait for the finished book and then they have to translate all of that into a visual format, which is real fucking hard to do very quickly, especially if you're not working directly with the writer. Yeah, I've seen that done before, where like some animes that became very popular, or some mangas that became very popular, are then adapted into light novels, and that can be done really well and be really cool. You just did books, but because it's like anime, and honestly because of Avatar: The Last Airbender, anytime I'm talking about a show and then someone's like, well, I'm waiting for the next book of the show, my brain's just like, oh yeah, maybe they call it books like in Avatar, and I just roll with it. The last time I read a manga was with Noragami. I read a lot of like independent comics online, but it's been a very long time since I've read a manga. And sometimes when I see pages of mangas, I forget, or like I see the process, sometimes I forget just how much of like a full art form it is. Like people, it's considered to just be kind of like lowbrow, kind of like how comic books were in America for a long time, where it was like, oh, this is just a medium that we use to tell a story, it's for kids, blah 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 blah. Mangas take that to like a whole new level, and they still do almost all of it by hand, and it is insane. Like, there's a reason that manga artists will sometimes just die at their desks. It's terrifying, but also super cool. But please don't work yourself to death. I'm not endorsing that. As someone who has almost done that, don't do that. It's not a good time. 0 out of 10. Do not recommend. That's just a really dumb phrase I like. I don't know if that's supposed to be an emote or what the asterisks are. I'm sorry, I can't see them. Oh no, wait, they're a link. I forgot that that's what happens when you try to post a link in my chat. I think I tried to fix that. I thought I did. Ooh. Okay. That would be interesting to get into. Is a manga / anime that's adapted into light novels, is it kind of like when something gets when an anime or manga gets adapted into fuck, my brain is just dying. It was written as a light novel first. Okay. You know, live action. That's the word. When I was a kid, and I would watch a cartoon, and inevitably, like, the cartoon would have like a movie with live action with it. As a kid, I would call it a real life movie. And then as I got older, I'm like, everything's in real life, you fucking dumbass. But sometimes I'll still fall into it. So when I talk about like live action adaptations, my brain will just die, and it's just like, what are those called again? Real life movies? Okay. That makes me feel more confident in its like quality and like, unless it's terrible. It's terrible to start with. God, you know, I ate right before the stream and my throat is scratchy and my head kind of hurts. I'm just... Goodness. Goodness. It's more of a romance than the... Okay. That's pretty cool. I used to read a lot of romance novels when I was younger. And then my mom realized that those are erotic fictions, and she would not let me read them. And by younger, I mean like 13, 14. I would read those old lady erotic novels. And then I discovered the internet! And fan fiction. Oh god, I read something terrible on Reddit yesterday, right before bed. It was absolutely awful. I'm gonna tell you guys about it. I'm not gonna tell it to you in detail, because it was truly awful. It was terrifying. But so, I was on like the r/all, like the very, like the front of Reddit, right? Where everything is. And I was scrolling before bed, as you do when you are millennial. And it was from r/shower thoughts, and it was like, Hagrid's dad had sex with a giant, right? And in the book, she's 20 feet tall, and he's described as being 5 feet tall. Like, he's short for an average guy. And I was like, oh, this might lead to like some interesting like fan theories or funny stuff or whatever. Because I like Harry Potter. I'm not a crazed fan, but I like Harry Potter to a degree. And the third comment from the top, like I'm not even that far down, is a super long, very detailed erotic fanfic between Harry and Hagrid with both like a weird like motherhood fetish / breastfeeding fetish. And it was the worst thing ever. And I read all of it. And I hate myself for it. And that's been plaguing my mind when I let it like drift. When I'm like, I was like, do you ever like see something awful on the internet and then all of a sudden like you'll wipe it from your brain and then the next day your brain will just remind you of it and be like, do you remember when you saw that thing? And you're like, no brain, don't do that. That's been my day. Apparently it was by this Redditor called Dimitri, who is known for completely weird, off-the-wall, ridiculous, and super gross like fan fictions that are meant to just kind of get that gut reaction from people of, oh my god, what did I just read? I've never wanted to actually like wipe my brain, but I desperately wanted to then. It was terrible. And I've told all of you about it. The things we find on the internet. It doesn't help that, like, so my parents are not on any form of social media, so their grasp of the internet are like the very basics, and they don't go on any news outlet. The internet is not all good things. The internet is mostly bad things, I'd like to argue, but it has given us many good things as well. My parents have no form of social media at all. To a point that like my dad's kind of proud of it. Even though his entire job is based on web development. But so they go in between like these phases of like anything Ginger likes is fine, like we raised her well, she's not a degenerate, to oh my god, she watches anime, maybe she watches those animes, because my dad likes anime, but he's also like glimpsed the darker sides of anime, and he's like, I don't know what she watches, she probably watches that. And I'm like, no, I don't, all the time. So I did not grow up like with social media or a cell phone or with unlimited access to the internet. So the parts of the internet I remember are like dial-up internet, the beginnings of World of Warcraft, the Farmville for some reason, because my mom's mother played Farmville all the time when I was younger. But so like this idea of like a mostly barren and empty internet, where everything looks super kind of like MySpacey. Like I've seen MySpace pages. I never had one, but I've seen them. Everything kind of looks like that, and it's just wild to me. It sounds like it was a slightly better time to be on the internet. It sounds like a weirder time. How's that? Yeah, that's what it is. It sounds like it was weirder. And I kind of want to experience that. I want to experience like the weird 3D modeling that was everywhere, and the super like realistic icons where like if you clicked the computer button, it looked like it was a computer. So yeah. Okay. I also love horror stories. And so if you listen to horror narrations on YouTube, Mr. Creepypasta, he does have like a few series that relate to like horrors of the internet, or like kind of like well-known creepypastas. and they just have this different feeling to them than like a lot of the newer horror stories that he would do. They're kind of like left more open. They don't have an ending where they fight something, or where like a killer is dead or something like that. They're just events that are kind of messed up that no one has an answer for, that occurred, and then that's the end. And that I really like the stories like that. Most of his stories are really good, but I do really like those ones. I feel like I overshade her hair a lot because I use brushes that are just slightly too big. I should be adjusting my brush size, but also these are just kind of like for fun. So I'm trying not to think too much about it. They're for fun, not to be perfect. Goodness, I also forgot how anxious streaming can make me sometimes. Like anytime I leave for like a week and then come back, I feel a little extra anxious. I'm like, stream of consciousness, I've been told that's what to do. Stream of consciousness can get dark, guys. Like that entire rant I went on. Aw, thank you. I think I'm just still recovering from having COVID and I'm just getting a little tired, guys. I'm definitely overshading her hair. Shit. Maybe we can save it. Probably not, but maybe. shift around in my... Oh, God. Okay. Do you ever... I don't know if anyone else has this happen, but what'll happen with me a lot, especially when I'm doing art, is I will forget what position my legs are in, so I will just cross my legs like really tight, like crisscross applesauce. Take a drink so I don't die. Oh, go away. I crisscross applesauce really tight in my seat, and then at some point I'll be like, oh, I can't feel my feet. So I will uncross my legs and I can feel the muscles just screaming. I'll have that happen if I have to, like, if I'm, back when I did gardening, if I was doing any gardening, if I was, like, squatted down for a long period of time and then I'd stand up, my legs would just die. My knees would snap, basically. Oh God, it was awful. Take care of your bodies, kids. You only get one. Oh God. Welcome to my after school special. Super concentration time. I have a song stuck in my head and I can't remember what it's called. But it's... I don't want to sing it because it's like a weird song. And also I don't want to get like my stream muted by Twitch. You know what? With no context, if you can guess the song that's stuck in my head, I will give you a free commission. No context. You don't get any hints. You just have to guess the song. And I promise that if you get it right, I will tell you. I know that there's no guarantee. It's just this is the most ridiculous, convoluted game ever. But if anyone can. Because it's gonna bug me until after the stream when I can look up the lyrics and find out what the name of this song was. This is how you weed a mind reader out of your friend group. Is impossible games like this. It would be terrifying if somebody guessed the song right. Like they put in the lyrics. That would scare the shit out of me. That's a level of stalking I'm not prepared to deal with. Yes, there is a level I am prepared to deal with. Like quite a few women I've met, I have had stalkers. My life has never been threatened, and I've been able to shut it down very early. But I have had some very creepy behavior that was either borderline stalkerish or like right on the cusp of becoming a stalker. Where it's like some things are just too much of a coincidence. And I know I sound kind of crazy and paranoid, but like I wrote it off while it was happening, and then looking back and telling people about it, they're like, it sounds like you had a fucking stalker. And I'm like, oh, I guess I did. So I'm much better at recognizing the signs. No level of stalker is a good one. But Dozman, if you're living in my walls, like, come hang out sometimes, okay? Wisconsin is not that far away. If that's where you are. Anyway, yeah. Actually, so when I was in college, I very briefly, very casually was seeing this guy. And he got very stalkerish. Yes, Art and I should come visit soon. We should, when we're not sick with COVID. Actually, like, apparently the town we're in has a ferry, like, right to Wisconsin, because we're right near one of the lakes. So we've talked about it. We've been like, we could just go see Dozeman for the weekend, and then things would happen, like work or getting sick. But yes, we will make plans and wait for the weather to not be shit. But back to the stalking. So I very briefly went out with this guy in college, casually. He had a lot of red flags that my oblivious ass at like 19 could fucking see. So I was like, I think I'm gonna nope out of here. And I was like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. If you want to try to be friends, it's okay. Blah, 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 right? Like it had only been going on for like a month. We were not that serious. He messages me this like fucking novel, right? Which is, it's like technically a breakup. Okay, that'll happen sometimes. You'll deal with that sometimes. But a part of that novel was him telling me about how sometimes he would get so angry that he would just black out and not remember things. And I was like, black! Just immediately, like, he had some stalker behavior when I was like seeing him. And then when I stopped seeing him, he tells me that bullshit. Black! I was like, that is a nope. In what world does that seem like a way to get someone back with you? Feel bad for me. When I get angry, I black out. That just sounds like abuse waiting to happen. Maybe. He did have like weird mementos from every girl he ever went out with, like in his room. And I understand like having those when you've been in a long relationship. But I don't think he actually murdered anyone. But he might have been getting there. Did I go out with Jeffrey Dahmer Jr.? Maybe. Exactly. You can't get serial murdered if you're the serial murderer. I've seen that movie. It's hilarious. How have you been, Dozeman? It's nice to hear from you. I know you're just here for the cat girls, but how are you? And the wild ranting. To be honest, I've been in some like slightly scary situations to a point where now I am almost hyper aware of the second someone starts being creepy. Meh? Is it just cause weather? Is it just, do you want to talk about it? We could talk about it. Something I'm told I'm very good at is angrily ranting on behalf of people. The second that they're like, I'll be that bitch friend. Okay. Writer's block is a bitch. I'm sorry. It does suck. I haven't had a lot of experience with writer's block, but if it's anything like art block, where sometimes you sit there and you try and you try and you try, and it's just nothing. Either nothing is coming out good, or nothing like is flowing right, or it just doesn't sit right, or it's terrible. It's truly terrible. And I don't know a good way to solve art block yet. Usually the thing that I do to solve art block is I'm just like, I guess I'm not doing it. And then I don't until I suddenly get hit with inspiration or I hit a fucking deadline. I don't know. Until I have to just push art out of the door. Maybe I should tell him to stop opening and closing the door. Not even listen. Oh. Alright, you're blocking the door. Oh, if it happens with coding, I imagine it's like even worse because like, what if coding block or programmer block, which is what I'm gonna call it now, they like you want to make something, but like you can't get the motivation to do it. I believe coding is creative. I had to take like a short like intro to coding class as my math credit for college, and it felt very rewarding. Even if I was just like mostly copy pasting code and like just adjusting things a little bit, it felt really good where at the end of like a class period I could hit the like test button and like a little pop-up would come and be like, input your birthday, and you'd put in your birthday and you could put in like a bunch of letters and it'd be like no, or sometimes it wouldn't do it at all if you based the code on that, and you'd put in your birthday and like then it would like do like a little thing, you would do like a little click and you'd be like thank you, and then that would be the entire thing. It would be nothing and it would be for no reason, but I would feel so proud of it. I'd be like, I fucking did that. I made the thing. You know what that I bet it was better than a Jackson Pollock painting could ever be. I have strong feelings about Jackson Pollock. Boy, do I have strong feelings. I have to learn and get more familiar with, well, I used to know and be relatively familiar with, I think it was like C++. Did you look up his paintings? They're trash. Like, oh my god. Picasso was just as much of an asshole as Jackson Pollock was, but at least Picasso knew what the fuck he was doing. He could do like photorealistic portraits by the time he was fucking 16. Jackson Pollock just came oil paint. I don't know who Kandinsky is. And I'm interested. I'm gonna write down their name so I don't forget it later. This is my handwriting. Kandinsky. Paris. Period. Motley. I'm like looking back and forth between screens. Life. Okay. I'm gonna have to remember to cut this out of the speed paint, but whatever. No. Coding is creative and coding is hard. Because you have to be very good with memorization. I used to know a little bit of, I think it was C++ or whatever, the very easy designer front end kind of coding is, where like I know how to place the buttons. Okay, I can't keep this in the speed paint where just all of a sudden she just stops drawing and she just writes these words for half a second. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll forget to edit it out and you can see it on YouTube and you'll be like, ah, this moment. Visual, it's not called Visual Basic. It's it starts with a C. Art knows what it is, and I'll have to ask him later. I think it's C++ or it's CSS. But it is essentially the visual version of coding, and even that is hard. Like, I've learned the hard part of, it's, okay. of like the specific commands you have to put in to like figure out how to like get the image to the size or the side or what. Yeah. Okay. Well, go fuck yourself, Art. Please don't be mean to my code. It was made to be art, and it just doesn't know any better, okay? Okay. So it's CSS, and I have to relearn it now because I have to make myself a website for my online portfolio, and I'm not looking forward to it because code is hard. Oh, okay, so that was like my coding class, like quote unquote coding class, where essentially we were just given like all of the answers and we just copy pasted everything. To be fair, the professor, I'm pretty sure the professor only spoke, he barely spoke English. I think that he spoke Mandarin as his first language. Like, I'm pretty sure he knew enough English to tell us this, but this was years ago, so I'm not remembering it 100% correctly. But he was very friendly, and he knew a lot about code. But he just could not communicate it very well, so a lot of the class ended up just being like us kind of dicking around in the coding like software that we used. I'm gonna have to use a hosting service. Like, there's almost no way to have a website anymore without using a hosting service. Which means I'll have to look into subscriptions and blah, 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 blah. But it is still like, because I have to put my entire back catalog of art on there, and it's big, guys. Like, I've done a lot of artwork. This isn't even bragging. This is me being fucking miserable. I've done a lot of artwork in the past 5 years, and I have to show a certain degree of all of it because it's all in different like mediums usually, and I can't just post. I cannot have a website of just 3 cat girls. Eventually I will be setting up a store. I'd like to sell physical products. It's something that I'm like slowly saving up for. And I've done some research. What I'm probably gonna end up doing is getting one of those Square websites, right? With the that's called like Square, the thing. It's not connected to PayPal, but it kind of is. And because their basic service includes a store, like their base subscription service that you pay monthly for includes a store. The other one that I was suggested, yes, I know. I have done a lot of research. I've been doing this for a very long time. I've had to learn a lot of things the hard way. I've never thankfully had to deal with someone trying to steal my digital work before, but I know people who have. I know the process of getting things taken down. I know the difficulties of it. I've done it all. I know how to fucking write a contract for freelance commissions, okay? Sometimes Art will tell me things and he'll be like, oh, so I plan on doing like this and this in the future with my stream, and I'm like, why are you doing that? Yes, there are people who will just destroy my story because I've met internet trolls. Fuck yeah, I know. Anyway, I'm very young, but I've had a lot of terrible life experience. But sometimes I'll talk to Art and he'll be like, oh, I'm doing this and this and this, and I'm like, okay, and I'll ask questions and I will like try to bring certain things up because he won't always explain everything all at once. He'll just tell me like the general gist, which is fine, but then I will see flaws and I'm like, okay, well, if you're working with so and so and you don't have a contract, or if you're doing such and such with your content and you don't have a fucking contract, like, yeah. Did you run a website? Did you run a store, like a web store in college? Tell us about it. Tell us about it, Spectre. I am so excited. But yeah, Oh no. I'm sorry. It doesn't, yeah. I had a friend who's in high school whose parents, like, her dad invested in, okay. Well, it's still a pretty good experience. Especially if it's like, you can see the war zone, but it's not your casualties. I had a friend in high school whose dad, like, invested in a 3D printer and made his two daughters essentially run an Etsy store where they would make, like, the small cosplay items. Before there were a lot of those Etsy stores, they were like one of the few doing it. So she would have to have perfect grades. She was in all advanced classes, and she basically could not pursue any of her own interests, because then she would go home after school and she would have to run what they called the business of, like, making the product, marketing the product, and selling the product and shipping the product. And she was fucking 14. Oh my god. Yeah, big. I've heard a lot of stories actually of artists who will just, even without trying to sell it themselves, they will make fan art of, like, different characters from video game franchises or movie franchises, and then the bigger businesses that own them will be like, oh, this is our merch now. And they'll just change it just slightly. Like, a lot of stuff you'll see at Hot Topic is usually, like, plagiarized art that Disney just took because they're like, well, it's our characters. Okay, well, it's their intellectual property. You cannot take someone's art just because you came up with the character, because that's not how fan art works. Like, that's like the big loophole with fan art, is as long as you're not making it for profit, it's yours. You own it. Like, they own the intellectual rights to the character, but you own the content you create. It is, and very few small artists do win. Very, very few. I think I've seen it happen a couple of times. What usually happens is, like, places like Alibaba or another artist, quote unquote, because if they do this, they're not. They'll either steal, edit, trace, or make merch with your art, and you have to send cease and desist. You have to potentially get lawyers involved. It's a whole thing. I have an entire clause in the contracts I do for commissions where I'm like, you cannot use this for commercial purposes. Oh my god. Actually, with Alibaba, you can usually get them shut, like, those distributors, at least, like, if you bug them enough and send them enough cease and desist, usually it'll happen. That sounds kind of amazing, but also awful. It sounds like the dad is a fucking idiot. But, okay, maybe not now. It depends. Again, like, it's a whole thing. It also depends on, like, how famous the artist is. If it's a very famous, like, well-known artist on the internet, they're more likely to get their cease and desist listened to, because they have a bigger, like, brand, essentially. It is, as they say, money talks. Yeah. Fuck, what was I talking about? Oh, I have a clause in my, in the contracts I have people sign when I do commissions for them. I have a clause in there very clearly say, like, this cannot be remade, this cannot be taken credit for by anyone else. Like, it's in much more legally jargony, sounds more professional. And you cannot use this for any merch design or redistribution for profit. Like, unless they pay the copyright for it. Oh my god. That's insane. have also like done commercial, like I did a print set for like a fabric print for a Etsy seller who gets her own fabric printed and then designs and sews her own retro-based clothing. And she understood. I was like, okay, you can only use this for the fabric for your stuff that you're selling. You can't sell the pattern, you can't sell the fabric. You can get the fabric printed and make your own clothes, but you cannot sell anything with my, because then she is selling my art as almost the exclusive product. She's like, yep, that's part of the standard contract I signed with all of my artists. That completely makes sense. And she paid like $50 extra to be able to sell my work on her product. And that's what you do. Because there are, if you want copyright, you usually just have to ask and it has to be in the fucking contract. But if you, I want you guys to know that while I am talking, and the reason why sometimes I stop drawing completely when I'm talking is because I gesture a lot when I draw. Because I am a smaller artist, and because she was a small seller, I wasn't gonna be like, hey, every time you sell one of these dresses, I get this much money. I was selling her a one-off print. Yes. And I've done work for, what are they called? Authors. I actually had this really nice client who was a author, and I did the art for the cover of their books. For one of their books, and fuck you, I hit the number. Take me to, oh, it's because I'm hitting the wrong button. That's why. This is, okay. And so for the first book that I did with them, it was just like an hourly rate, which was fine. That was what was in our contract. That was what was agreed. But when it came to they wanted me to do some children's books. They invested so much money into their first novel, which was like a young adult novel, that when they wanted to do their children's books, they're like, okay, I can't pay you the hourly rate, but I can pay you like a flat fee for like this many drawings so much, and then in the contract, we will put you in for royalties. And I was like, oh yeah, that would be great. Then school got in the way and I couldn't continue the project and I had to work, and it was just like, hey, this is as much as I got done. Like, you only paid me the flat rate. I really appreciate working with you. You were great, but I can't continue your project, which does happen sometimes. And they were understanding, and it was good. It's not something I do often. Like, I tried very hard to continue with that project. But it was just, I could not handle doing all of it. And they were also my only commission at the time too, so it wasn't even like I was trying to take on a lot of projects. I had school and a job, like a day-to-day job, because the commissions obviously were not paying me enough or being consistent enough for me to not have a job. But yeah, royalty things, it's something I'd only consider if it was something like a picture book or a comic, or if I designed like a set of like 5 t-shirts and they something like that. I have done professional commissions. I've also done very unprofessional commissions where it was essentially this guy telling me to, it was awful. It was my first set of commissions, and I will never be on Fiverr again for the rest of my days. I'll do Upwork, which I think is still owned by the people who own Fiverr, but it's a whole different community, and it's much easier to say no as an artist. And I also know how I want to be treated, at least by the people I take commissions from, a lot better. So yeah, oh my god. Also, I just try to find my own commissions now, like on Reddit or even on Twitch. After I do these cat girls, actually, I will be working on the emotes for Try Hard Friends stream, because he's got some new emote slots. picky. I'm not kidding when I say that sometimes art is my worst commission client ever, and he's aware of this, and he tries to work with me. Like 5 years ago, okay? No, not 5 years ago. This would have been like 4 years ago. When art first started considering streaming, I had already done a lot of commissions. I have to do almost all of my own marketing, and I just don't have time to throw myself into it as much as I'd like to. But I'd also seen like a lot of businesses and done a lot of research on this. So I was like, okay, if you're gonna do streaming and you want help, this is what like you need to do. You need to like set a consistent schedule. You need to set a consistent type of game. You can't, I was like, variety streamers don't do very well. You kind of at least need a type of game that you play very consistently. Blah, 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 blah. Took none of my fucking advice. And I was like, all right, fine. Do you. It's your stream. And he still did really well. But one of the things is he needed stuff designed. So I was like, okay, yeah. And I came up with a few different ideas. I was like, you need consistency across your stream. So we're going to design you like a main logo, and then we can do like some main colors. He just could not make a decision. And at one point I was like, okay, well, here's like the themes that I think fit you and your personality and the type of games you play. Here's like 3 different sets of them. And he liked like one of them. Yes, they all have consistent themes in their presentation, and they probably also play a consistent type of game. If there's something linking all of the games, even if it's a variety, maybe they always go for games with really good graphics. Maybe they always go for games that are like experimental with their playstyle. Maybe they always go for independent games. You can be a variety streamer, but you usually have some type of theme. And take a drink. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying that time has really passed. You can't really get famous on Twitch just by showing up and playing games and not putting real effort into it. Which is what a lot of people seem to think streaming is. They're like, I just show up and play video games, people will watch me. No. Okay, well, if they aren't, they should. But yeah, you need some type of brand consistency. So he essentially rejected like all of my ideas mostly. And look at this, like fucking not last year, but like the year before almost. Whenever I made like the kind of official Try Hard Friends logo, where it's like the controllers and the font and the everything, that was within the first sketches like 4 or 5 years ago that he rejected. And then he was just like 3 years ago, he was like, but I really need something consistent with my streams. I want like a logo, I want like a theme. I was like, okay, how about this? And I essentially just pulled out that old sketch that I still had, and I was like, dusted it off. I was like, what about this? He's like, this is amazing. This is fantastic. Why didn't you show me this before? I was like, I did fucking show it to you before. I can hear him giggling in the background. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but like I can tell when he reaches, because there's a little bit of a lag, and then suddenly I'll just hear like in the background, like a little bit of a snort. But yeah, so that's essentially what I did. Is essentially I was just like, I'm like, he's just gonna take it. But he's a lot better about it now. Now when he wants something, like he'll come to me with ideas and we'll talk about it. Or I'll come up with like a cool idea for an emote, and I'm like, hey, what if I did something like this for your channel? And like we'll talk about it, and he won't just flat out be like, no. I don't know if that's something in the game or if you're referencing that I'm ginger and angry, but yes. I imagine that a volcano that shoots molten copper at you would be very dangerous. Oh, okay. I have played a little bit of that game because I was like, this looks cute. It'll be easy. I died a lot. I died so much within like the first 48 hours of playing that game that I was like, I think I'm done playing this game. Isn't cobalt like a rock? Isn't cobalt like a fucking rock? Like copper can be a molten metal. That kind of makes sense. Cobalt is like a rock, isn't it? No, it's not. Cobalt is a metal. I'm thinking of that lapis lazuli thing. That's because they're both blue, like cobalt blue, and then lapis lazuli is like almost the exact shade of like cobalt blue. So my brain's just like, they're the same. I didn't know that in the medical profession they often give you... You know, they also allowed hat makers to work with mercury with no protective equipment, so... Oh god. So, I had a 5th grade teacher. This relates. Oh, it fucking relates. I had a 5th grade teacher who was a goddamn psycho, okay? She would go from one second from like praising how smart and happy she loved us as a class and how we were her favorite class she'd ever had to just screaming at us, okay? She was insane. We were terrified of her, okay? And then halfway through the year, that's terrifying. Halfway through the year, she just like, she would tell us stories about like what her life as a kid all the time, because that's apparently what old teachers do. I've had most of my teachers have all been very close to retirement age, so I've had mostly very old teachers. She told us that her dad used to work at a chemical facility, and that he before there were so many restrictions, in her words, he would just bring home like Tupperware containers of mercury. And they would play with it, like on the dining room table. Like he would just pour it out and they'd play with it with their hands and they'd just play with the mercury. And as 5th graders, we were like, this is why you're fucking crazy. Because we'd learned since like the 3rd grade that mercury thermometers were not allowed anymore because they were poisonous and because mercury lead could lead to madness. Hi, Abs! We're talking about mercury poisoning and how my 5th grade teacher might have had it. Yeah, it was... Yeah, she wanted to be a Broadway actress. She was not. We're all mad here. Oh god. I remember when that Alice in Wonderland movie came out. I think I was in like I want to say 8th grade or 9th grade, and how every girl ever had like a sweatshirt and a notebook and a phone case and a hat that we're all mad here. Like, what the fuck? Oh god. Let me just inhale this poisonous chemical. But then people also huff glue. Do you guys want to hear? Okay. You realize that your skin and the oils on your skin are just essentially just the best fire starter ever? Oh god. I don't have like super sensitive skin to like chemicals and oils and everything. So when something starts to burn, I'm like, oh no, this is bad. Your skin and the oils and the fats on your body are just basically the best candle ever. Mmm. It's people scented. The burning thing? Possibly. I mean, if you look throughout history, we've burned a lot of people at the stake. Why don't you know about burning people? Ah, God, that 5th grade teacher might have been one of the worst teachers I've ever had. She was not the worst teacher. She was up there. She was one of the worst. She had a little bit too much time in the movie. But she wanted to be a Broadway actress. And she told us about it all the time. Because apparently when you're a student and you're a young child, your teachers just tell you things about their lives. Don't carry a mercury on the plane. Oh yeah, doesn't like the pressure of it like make it like explode out of the container or some shit? Anyway, so she met her husband doing acting and musicals and stuff. So like that's how she met, and apparently they had 2 children. She had a daughter and a son. The daughter was the oldest, and she showed us like a home video that they like shot and edited and cut to be like a musical of them moving into like their first house as a couple with their first daughter, and she was a baby. And there's a scene where they cut it so it looks like they drop her out of a 2nd floor window, like the teacher, the wife does, and then her husband catches her, and she pauses it really quick. She went, "We did that with a baby doll," because like they shoot it so that like she's holding her out of the window and you can see the baby moving, so it definitely looks like her. But then they cut it and she threw like a baby doll that was in a blanket. They were not from Texas. No. They were from Michigan. Out the window, like wrapped in the blanket, and the husband caught it, and then they would do like another shot where he has the baby already in his arms, and he does kind of like the squat that you do when you catch something from up high, right? And then they cut it all together, and that's really impressive. But she almost threw her baby out a fucking window and put it on video and circulated it to people. Like, oh my God. That was my 5th grade education. Oh, and a musical movie about Christopher Columbus, told from the perspective of his ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria or something like that. I used to have them memorized because I had to watch an entire fucking movie about them, and they were singing. And I'm just like even as a kid, I was like, I don't think Columbus was the good guy. And now we definitely know he was not a good guy. Like, we've known for years. Even when she showed us the video, she was like, Columbus was not a good person, but this video is cute. And we were like, what? This is what happens when your public school system is run by people who only hire old people. My 3rd grade teacher, the thing I remember most learning about in the 3rd grade was how much my teacher wanted to retire. That's what she told us about basically every day, because we were the last year before she retired, and she would tell us about how she was going to spend her retirement. I learned how to count, like, with money in the 3rd grade. Well, I didn't learn how to do it then, but like we had like this thing where like every day we would put like a little plastic fake penny in a jar, and when we reached 100 or like 5 pennies, we could take the pennies and we would get a nickel, and then if we got like 2 nickels, we could get a dime, and it would like rotate like that. So it was supposed to like teach us like the days and the counting, because we're in the 3rd fucking grade. And I also learned that she didn't think comic books were real books. I had a lot of arguments with her about that. And I learned what a timeout chair was. Spent a lot of time in it in the 3rd grade. And we learned that the only thing she wanted to talk about was retiring and how she was going to lay on a beach and in a hammock all day and read books constantly, forever. We were like, all right, so you don't want to be here is what we gather. You do not want to be teaching us. Cool. I learned about my 6th grade teacher's divorce, and I'm going to share it with all of you guys. She got divorced years before I was in the 6th grade, but she was apparently still reeling from it. I was like, if we're gonna go there, because my parents are near you, so like, I was like, if we're gonna go see my parents, it would be cool if you could meet up with Abs and like hang out or work on computer stuff or play video games. And he was like, well, he needs help with his computer. I was like, yeah, like meet Abs and spend the day there and like do computer stuff. So totally, if giving permission means making plans, then I gave permission. My 6th grade teacher, her divorce, she tells us about it. She divorced him because he kept investing all of their money into a toy company in the stock market that was failing. So yeah, I was in the 6th grade. That's most of what I remember from the 6th grade is her opinions on Lady Gaga and the weird sex ed videos we had to watch, because that was the year we learned about boys. And yeah, give me a sec. And that her divorce was because her husband lost all their money in the stock market. Boys are icky. This is her so far. This is an artist that Dozman recommended I look up. Lady Gaga is an actually really good musician, but when I was in the 6th grade, she was mostly famous for being naked on stage. And like her meat dress and her bubble dress. And that's what our teacher talked about, because she was like, you girls should never be like that. Oh, I think my teacher actually had, I'm pretty sure she actually called Lady Gaga a whore in front of all of us girls during sex ed. I think I remember that. Oh, no, it was a slut. She was like, you're not supposed to say this word, but that's what she's acting like. And I remember being like, like, my 6th grade, my public education was weird. I didn't realize how weird my public education was until I started talking to other people who had much better public educations. And they're like, we had a school nurse on retainer. And I was like, I thought school nurses were only on TV. We didn't have a nurse. We had the secretary with a thermometer. And if you had a temperature above like 98.7, you had to go home. And that was it. That's all. We didn't have a nurse. You got injured during a sports game, you went to the hospital, and that was your parents' decision. Essentially, they would just wheel you off the field. Okay, so I grew up just outside of Detroit. Actually, so I spent the first 4 or 5 years of my life in a tiny rural town. And then when I started going to school, in a suburb outside of Detroit. So not Detroit schools, they were slightly better than Detroit schools, but they were not good. Yeah, my mom tried to tell me that they were just as good as the schools in Grand Rapids, and I'm like, no, they are not. Do not talk to me about this. The kids who go to public school in Grand Rapids are the children of doctors and lawyers. They're not sending them to a school that doesn't have a nurse. I legitimately didn't think they were real. Like, there are so many, like, I went to the worst school in my district for high school. It was essentially like Lord of the Flies. No, our health was taught by our gym teachers. are pedophile gym teachers. Like, legitimately got fired for that bullshit. And they taught health. Oh, one of the health teachers? So this was not the health teacher I had, but the health teacher that my friends had that I wanted to have, because she was known as the cool health teacher. So we had to watch a video in health during sex ed called The Miracle of Life. It was made in like the 80s. I hear it's widely circulated. I feel like a lot of people have seen it. But essentially you start with a couple who's trying to conceive a baby. They film them at every doctor's office visit. They do like everything with them, right? It's supposed to be the miracle of life from start to finish. They condense it down into like an hour and a half. Well, the last scene is you see her giving birth. They're videotaping like her cervix and her vagina opening and the baby coming out from like a bit of a distance. Like the dad and the doctor are right up in there, but the camera crew is like maybe 6 feet away, right? The regular health teacher would just show the whole thing start to finish. And that would be it. That would, like, after they showed you pictures of like what dick with coral growing on it looks like, basically. And tell you that only condoms work and condoms only work half the time. Bullshit like that. The other, if you had the cool health teacher, after you saw the end scene where the baby comes out, she would then play it in reverse. So it looked like the vagina was eating the baby. And it is insane. Because this is not a woman who started off like fit. She started off much heavier than is usually considered safe for a pregnant woman. So you cannot tell she was pregnant. And so they were like, and we're following this pregnant couple. So it's just this large woman and just a baby just It was insane. Like, that was the highlight of health class. And we all wanted to have that teacher. Oh yeah, spoilers, the miracle of life, she has an abortion. I'm sorry, that's really bad and it's a really hard topic and I don't want to talk about it. Oh god. Yeah. So we did not have a school nurse. I didn't think they were real. Oh, so I had a regular biology teacher. She made it known that she was Christian in our class, but she believed in evolution and science and everything. Like, she was a good teacher. And I took her my freshman year of high school. My junior year of high school, in some of my art classes, were like were freshmen, right? And I would talk to them sometimes, because what else are you gonna do when you're drawing a bowl of fruit, right? And I'm talking to this one chick, and she was like, well, I'm very Christian. And she's like, evolution is just a theory. And I'm like, excuse me? It's what? And apparently the teacher that I had went on maternity leave my sophomore year of high school. They hired a long-term substitute teacher who they ended up hiring full-time after she came back as like the second biology teacher. He taught in public school, well known that he was teaching this among the other faculty, was that evolution does not apply to humans because humans were created by God. And I lost my mind. Like, in high school, I was like, that is not, what is happening? You can believe whatever you want, but like, if you are an educator, you should not be biased like that. And that was my public school. No nurse, and they believed that humans were created by God. And I did not live in Texas. Oh my god. I hated that girl so much, but I also wanted to sleep with her so bad. They taught you that evolution was real? Well, yeah. Cause it's standard. Cause Because kids, even if you're in private school, you usually, I'm pretty sure that you have to still take standardized testing if you want to like get certain grant money from the government. And private schools do get specific grant money from the government as long as they can prove that it is not connected to anything religious. But like with private schools, what they do is they'll be like, okay, so the government can pay for desks and like some textbooks and like some school supplies, but like anything, like if they wanted to have like a cross engraved on the desks, then like the government either couldn't pay for the desks or like it would have to be something done like by the school afterwards or something like that. The laws around it get very finicky. But usually you also, because you have to take the standardized test, so a lot of private schools will still teach basic curriculum because they have to. Not all of them do. Or some of them don't rely on it as heavily, but yeah, it was insane. My school was essentially like Lord of the Flies, but the teachers would stand idly in the hallways to make sure none of the gay couples were making out. It was insane. And I thought it was normal. I thought everyone's high school experience was like that. I was like, when people were like, high school sucked, it was hell, I was like, yeah, it did. It was awful. Oh, okay. Well, it's good that they did anyway. It's good that they were like, you know, maybe we want people who actually have thoughts. Oh, God. Not all private schools are bad. I will accept that. In fact, I'd like to say that most private schools, as long as they don't have like a bad agenda, are usually better. Okay, that sounds pretty standard from what I understand of different like religious studies classes that you have to take in certain private schools. I did briefly go to a Methodist private school in grade school for a little while because at the time we lived in a worse part of a suburb off of Detroit, and my parents were like, we don't want her going to these public schools and like getting kidnapped or murdered. So they sent me to a private school for 2 years, and they were very heavy-handed with like the religious stuff. But it also might have just been that teacher, because the teacher I had, she was like, this is my first time ever teaching ever. So picky. Well, you know, honestly, I think my dad was kind of one of those guys who was like, yeah, sexual harassment happens, but it can't be that bad. Like, just don't put yourself in that environment. And then he had me, a daughter who happened to be ginger. And I do remember like being at the grocery store very young with my dad, and someone my dad did not know coming up and talking about how cute I was and being like, she's gonna be a heartbreaker. And my dad was like, thanks, she's 5. Like, he had a daughter and he started realizing, oh my God, what world did I bring her into? And then he became super paranoid. Some of his paranoia was valid. People will say things even about like little boy babies though. Like people would say that about my little brother like to my mom, and my mom would be like, what are you talking about? They'd be like, he's gonna break some hearts when he gets older, and my mom would kind of laugh and be like, I hope not. People get creepy around babies. That's what I've really learned. Or maybe I'm just oddly very defensive of children just from the way I have grown up and been raised. Ash. Isn't it messed up what some people will say to you about your own children? Yeah. Like, yeah. So moving to like a neighborhood where that wasn't like considered very safe, my dad kind of lost his mind. He was like, because I was 6, he was like, oh my god, she's gonna get taken. Oh my god, like she's gonna be in the backyard. I'm not gonna be there for 2 seconds and she's gonna get kidnapped and traded around on the internet. My parents made me take self-defense classes very young. My dad did take it a little far. He was a little very paranoid, and he had his own reasons for that. Like, my dad, he grew up in a very rural area. I have been painting this pink. Fuck. So moving to like a suburb off of Detroit was kind of very different for him. And it was the town my mom grew up in. She was like, it's fine. My dad's like, no, it's not. But also, like, full discretion, my dad was the wild child of the family, and he continued to be the wild child until he had a child, and he was just like, no. He was like, I'm not letting her be that, which worked. Caused its own problems, but it worked. You can never say that my parents did not try their best to make sure I was always safe, which I take a lot of comfort in. Oh, another scary thing is, so I've always looked very young, to a point when, like, I was in the 4th grade, I would get mistaken for a kindergartner, not by strangers, but like by teachers that like would see me in the hallway, but I would not have been in their class. They would just assume I was a kindergartner because I've always looked very small and very young. And my aunt, my dad's youngest sister, she's like, my family is usually shorter women. But she and I have like a 16-year age gap. So if I went to the grocery store with like her and my grandmother, her mom, and I was in the cart, if she was pushing it, people would assume that like she was my mom and that she was like a teenage mom. And in visiting in that town, which was like a smaller rural town, like that was a big deal. To a point where I think that like for a little while she avoided being being like not seen like alone with me in public, but kind of like put in that position where people might assume that she was my mother. It's just like a really weird thing. People's reaction to kids is just weird, is what I know. As someone who is babysit all the time, like, your child is it should be and usually is like your most precious thing in the world, okay? I understand why you might act weird, but the way people act around you gets weird too. What was definitely weird kind of growing up is I was like the very small, kind of like sickly kid for a while, for a very long while. And my brother was like twice the size of the average kid and super healthy and like rambunctious and outgoing and energetic and like wanted to talk to everyone. So we were just complete opposites, but he also was always almost the exact same size as me. Like after the time he was like 3 or 4 years old, he was almost the same size as me, and we have a 7-year age difference. So people would get confused like which one was which. or who was the older sibling. That was always fun to explain. He does it on purpose now. Now, if I'm like meeting some of his friends for the first time, he will try to convince them that I'm the younger sibling. He'll be like, yeah, she's just not very social, but she's in middle school. Be nice to her, guys. And then I will have to try to hit him. Which doesn't work very well anymore because he is much bigger than me. I am like 5'1". He is almost 6 feet tall. And I'm like, wait, what? Why are you a giant? I'm worried that if I have a kid, I'll be like crazy protective of them. Cause I was that crazy protective older sibling of my brother. Cause he was always so energetic and outgoing and friendly, and he would get bullied. And I was 7 years older than him, so I didn't even go to the same school as him by the time like he was in school and was getting bullied. So I had like no say at the recess of like, you pick on my brother, I'll beat you up. I might be a little creep. Yeah. I'm very worried. Very worried. Yeah, it was really hard because my brother we had such a big age gap. He would be at school getting bullied, and I would be in the high school, which is like miles away. And he would come home and he'd be like, Sean punched me on the bus because I sat next to him. And I'd be like, tell me where he lives. I will fuck a 5-year-old up. I was like, I will kill him. Yeah, my parents had to have I think they had to have a small talk with my brother of, you might not be able to tell your sister all the things that you can tell us, but don't tell your sister. She gets real mad. You do not pick on my brother. That being said, I pick on him ruthlessly. He and I will just destroy each other. Which is fair. Like, we know our own limits. We love each other very much. But it's very much like, I can pick on him, you cannot. Oh, so when Art met my mom and my brother was like 11 or 12 when they first met for like the very first time. My brother has always been very good at video games. Like, he's always been kind of like the best in his friend group. Just because he also plays video games with my dad, and a lot of his friends, their dads don't play video games, right? Our dad always has. So my brother has like stiff competition to go up against. Art has played so many like Art grew up on Halo, and my brother did not realize that Halo was a game before he ever played it. Like, he had that very little kid mind of, no one else has ever heard of Halo except for me and my friends. So he met Art, and he was like, well, let's play Halo. Because I'm terrible at Halo. So my brother was very used to beating me at Halo. And he was trash talking at Art, right? And Art was like, yeah, go for it, buddy. just do your thing. Like the way he does when he just knows he's gonna win, but he's just letting you wind yourself up so that he can just watch you fall. And he started winning, and my brother is not a very good loser. My brother's not like the rage quit kind of loser where he'll throw things or he'll like scream at you or like start doing slurs or shit. But he was getting mad, right? And Art was kind of teasing him a little bit about it. And eventually they moved on to Smash Bros, right? Which Art is amazing at. Like, he's almost professionally good at it. I'm not amping him up. This isn't my lack of video game knowledge. Legitimately, he's almost professionally good. And my brother, who's always been the best Smash player in his friend group, could not believe he found someone better than him at Smash. And my mom and I are in the other room talking, and she just stops and she's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Talking to you. Am I not allowed to do that?" She goes, "He is bullying your little brother. You need to go say something." I was like, he's not bullying him. I was like, my brother is fine. Pendragon is fine. Like, he was talking such worse trash to Art than Art has been like 5 minutes ago. I was like, he is fine. Art is insane about Smash. He is terrifying when it comes to Smash. So I can kind of tell what game he's playing by like the way he's talking to people. Like when he plays Destiny, he would either sound very frustrated or he would like be kind of talking really fast and a little like crazy, right? Or if he was playing Eve, he'd be a lot quieter, but when he talked, it would either be something very funny or kind of like hard direction. When he plays Smash, he gets very like the teaching assistant who's young enough that he still kind of gets it with the kids, so he can't really be unprofessional in the classroom at work. But he's like, I can play this game. He's like, I'll play Ness. Ness is terrible. And you guys will totally beat me. And then he'll destroy everyone. And I can just hear him cackling. Oh wait, it'll start with like, no, you guys are doing great. Yeah. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, all right, so he's being mean. And then if there's like, all right, I won't play Ness. I'll play Ganondorf. And he'll just be like, ah! Oh, you don't want me to play Ganondorf anymore? I'm gonna play Captain Falcon. Like, he'll do everything. He gets a little insane with it. And it's amazing. But yeah, so that's been apparently like the one time in my mom's mind where like my brother might have been getting bullied and I didn't try to like beat someone's face in over it. Yeah, my brother went to a sleepover where like the younger sibling of the guy he was friends with, and my brother was like in like the 6th grade, like almost middle school by this point. So like he'd been bullied, he dealt with it, like he'd made his friend group, he didn't have to deal with it. Well, this little brother at the fucking sleepover was there and was like a complete dickhead just to be cool, right? Because he wants to hang out with the older kids, but he decides that he's gonna pick on my brother because my brother is super nice. Also, I don't know, I've been told that I give off like this do not fuck with me vibe. If my brother gives off a vibe when he was younger, it was fuck with me and I will apologize to you. He doesn't give that vibe anymore. He gives off the I will fuck with you vibe. So do not fuck with me vibe. But like this little shit kid picked up on it and like almost gave my brother a concussion. Like almost severely injured him. And I found out about it, and I found out my parents were essentially just gonna do nothing. My parents were like, he's just not gonna go over to that kid's house anymore if he wants to be friends with them during school, but like we're not gonna interact with the parents. And I was like, why are you not doing any? Like, I lost my mind. Yeah. it was because I think my brother at the time, he would have been like 12 or 13, and this kid therefore would have been like 10 years old. And my brother was 13, so I would have been. What is like? No, I think he would have been because he was 11 or 12. Yeah. Because I was home from college. That's what it was. I found out about it after the fact because I came home from break from college from my first year. So I was like 18, 19, and I was like, I will drop kick a 10-year-old. I will murder them. I did not get the chance to, but I considered it. I considered it heavily. I was ready to go to prison. He almost got a concussion. Like, he legitimately came at my brother with a metal shovel to the face. My brother could have died. I do not generally go around trying to hurt people. I'm not. It sounds terrible. I'm like the first person to be like, why are you talking to someone like that on a video game? Are you being mean? What if they're a child? But the second someone tries to commit bodily harm against like my brother or my little cousins or Art or my parents, I'm like, I will kill you. I do not care your age. I will murder you. You're so mean. I don't know if you're saying that I'm as stupid as a 10-year-old? I would fail at that game. Are you smarter than a 5th grader? Or are you just calling me short? Or it's just like, I protect myself. Or it's like, I toe the line a lot. I'm barely able to protect myself. We had a talk about it like a couple days ago. He was like, why do you put up with my shit? And I was like, because you're funny and you make me happy. And he was like, yeah, but I am constantly towing this line of how much I can piss you off to see, like, has she murdered me today? No? Continuing. You just like to be mean. So cruel. You know the cute boyfriend thing where like you're first dating and they let you win at the video game to make you feel good even though you're terrible, and you guys make a joke about it and it's adorable. And it's like a rom-com moment, like a modern rom-com moment where they're like, oh, look how cute they are. He let her win. He cares. Art and I have never had that. Art has literally always been 100%. If you're gonna win, you're gonna fucking earn it. I know it's really bad to do this on stream, but sometimes if I'm on stream for a very long time, I will see like 50 notifications on my phone all of a sudden. Like they'll all just pop up at once and I'm like, oh god, who died? Ah. Honestly, I did respect Art a little bit more when we were first going out, and he didn't let me win. But it did not want me to make me play. But I was kind of like, all right, I can trust him. He's honest. My mom told me about it. My mom, so I know there's always that stereotype of like, the guy will learn about what the girl likes to sleep with her. Girls will 100% do this too, okay? I learned everything I know about video games to impress guys who play video games because nerdy guys are my type. Like that is the entire reason why. Now I genuinely enjoy video games and know a lot about them. But before it was entirely just to impress dudes to date them. Not even to date them, just to hang out with them for a single night and then kick them out. I was talking to my mom about like video gaming and all that stuff, and I asked, like I made the joke about it, and she's like, oh, I did that with your dad. Do I have any? First I have to have friends, and you guys are my friends. You guys are my friends, but no, I don't have real life ones. Anyway, so I mean I do, but none of them are girls. So unless you swing that way, and they also happen to swing that way, which some of them do. But so I was talking to my mom about it, and I was like, oh, I totally learned all this video game stuff absolutely to hook up with guys. My mom's like, oh, I did that with your dad. And I was like, video games? Because my mom knows shit about video games. She was like, no, there was this Star Wars card game, and I learned how to play it to impress your dad. But the thing is he had this deck that he could just beat anyone with, and he would beat me all the time, and I just and he would try to teach me to be better, and it's not fun if you're the one losing all the time, even if you're only doing it to impress them. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. I'm like, this is where I get it from. This is how we pick them. They're cruel. I have played a total of 1 Magic of the Gathering card game against Art. 1. And I lost. And now every time he's like, why don't you play with me? I'm like, because I did not enjoy losing like that. It was not fun. Losing to card games is somehow like more demoralizing than losing, I think, to a video game. Because in a video game, like, a lot of it is chaotic, it's hand-eye coordination, it's hard. Maybe it's just because it's like a newer medium still, and card games have been around for centuries, but like, and you lose a lot faster. It's very immediate. Card games, you tend to lose slowly, and you don't realize you're losing until it's too late to save yourself. And I think, like, I understand the appeal of a game like that because I love torturing people slowly and watching them realize that they're in a corner, and I get a little bit sadistic, a little bit. But it is not fun to be on the other side of it. So I do not. That's why I do not like card games. I might be the only girl in all of Michigan who does not play euchre. Everyone I've ever known has been like, let's play euchre, let's play euchre. There was a euchre club at my high school. I have played euchre once in my life. My team won. Pinnacle? Yes. I reached the top, and then I quit. I quit while I'm ahead. That's what I did. I beat Art in Smash once. Have I ever told you guys about that? I love telling people about it, okay? Especially, I like telling people about it when he has beaten them like 5 times in a row, and they're just angry and sad, and they look at me who doesn't play video games very well, and they're like, at least I could beat her. And I'm like, no, you can't. I've beaten Art. I beat Art once. I beat Art playing Smash, and I beat him as Charizard the dragon one. I beat him. I'm a button masher. I'm a proud button masher. I beat him, and then I have never played Smash since. I quit while I was ahead. I did it. I peaked. And then I retired. I retired on top. No one can top that. I'm very proud of myself. I'm also not gonna lie, as someone who is terrible at video games, going out with someone who is amazing at video games, it is a little bit of a vicarious win through them, because I'm like, I don't even understand Destiny, but it sounds like you won. It's like when people like cheer for sports teams, but my sports team is very personal. Is this what streamers are? They're the sports teams of the video game world, but they're just like, oh my god, that's what they are. They're like the semi-professional, like, baseball or soccer players before they go pro that people will start following in their early career, And then like when you start seeing them, like when they win a game or they work really hard or they like start to see, you're like, yeah, you go. This is us. Is that kind of what it is? I think that's cool. I mean, shit. It's already 10 o'clock, guys. I'm having a lot of fun. I'd like to continue keeping the stream going for just a little bit longer. Making really good progress. I at least want to finish this layer. Like, it's Friday. I don't have to work tomorrow, so I'm not going to leave yet. And I don't often, like, I didn't stream at all last week, so let's have a little bit of an extra long one. How have you been, Abs, by the way? I haven't had a chance to talk to you. You kind of came in during stories, and we just continued bouncing back and forth. How have you been? I haven't had a chance to talk to you in a while. Oh, yeah! Art mentioned that you bought a house. Congratulations. Are you excited? Are you happy? Do you like your house? Is it an old house that you have to like work on? Is it haunted? Oh, tell me your house is haunted. Yeah, I hear that's usually the first starting point after you get a house. Is it haunted? Do you think it's haunted? First off, do you believe in ghosts? Do you believe in them? Okay, I can't do that. I'll get muted. Shit. I hope you're enjoying your house. I hope you're also like, if it's old and haunted, like you're working on it, you're doing your thing. If it's not old and haunted, you just get to move in and chill and try to bump your savings back up. Whatever it is people do when they buy houses. Pretend it's haunted. Okay, so I know a lot about weird, supernatural, paranormal shit because even if it's not real, it's just fun, okay? Do it. No, if you're Dean, you get to eat pie. Art, that honestly sounds like you either like, I don't know, like, it sounds so weird. I'm gonna make it haunted, so you're either gonna die in his house or play with a Ouija board, and I know you're not gonna play in a Ouija board. You better not die in Ab's house. Suddenly rethinking allowing you to go over there to hang out. Anyway, so there is this supernatural creature called a tulpa, which is literally like a ghost or spirit that's created by thought. That only exists because people either imagine it, tell enough stories, or think it is real. So yes, if you wanted to make your house haunted, you could legitimately just think about it. Just think it's haunted for a very long time. And just decide, like, my house is haunted. And it might just be your brain making shit up, okay? If you tell enough people your house is haunted, supposedly something will haunt it. Whether you guys made it there, or drew it there, or if it's even real and it's not just crazy coincidences. Who knows? I think that's really cool. You be haunted. Haunted by your financial decisions? No, I'm kidding. Do you guys want to hear about the demon basement in the last place that Art and I lived in? Or not the last place, the second to last place we lived in before this place. We have a current demon closet. I call it Satan's butthole. Okay, so we're in Michigan, and for people who aren't, we have something in Michigan called a Michigan basement, which is an unfinished basement. It's literally just like a hole where they build the foundation of the house, right? And in very old houses, instead of being a concrete foundation, sometimes they are still rough stone. And with like dirt floors, right? It's very like medieval dungeon. And in a house that we rented for a little while for for a year, about, I want to say in 2018 or 2019. No, this would have been 2017 to 2018. I'm sorry. The house was over 100 years old. We knew that because they listed that like on the renters thing. And the basement, it had a door in the kitchen that would lead to the basement, and the door in the kitchen would lock. Like, it had a separate lock inside the kitchen, so you could essentially lock someone in the basement. We go down into the basement. It's this rickety set of wooden stairs. They're the kind that like don't have where they're like the open stairs where like you could fall in between the stairs. And they fuck you, stupid paint thing. So you go down these stairs, and it's like it's an old Michigan basement. Like, it's full of just spiders and bad things. Like, that's literally the entire basement. And it's rough stone. It's got a dirt floor. It's very dark. It's also like the water heater is in kind of like a corner. It's got like some weird like built-in shelves in like the rough river rock walls. It's kind of like a little twisty and turny, and it's got like some pillars of like what holds up the house. Well, in the very, very back corner, it also had no windows in it, which was weird because we saw windows around the outside of the bottom of the house. In the very, very back corner, there was a like a rickety wooden door that looked about 100 fucking years old, maybe only 50. And it had a lock on the outside. Like, it had one of those latches where it's like a loop and you put the latch over it and then you put the lock in there, right? Very secure. And it also had like one of those little ones that you slide and you chink into place. And in the room, it was all rough river rock. It was dirt floor. It had one window, a very thick glass, like barely anything came in, one like set of shelves, and a very old chair. And that was all that was in there, and it locked from the outside. And it was terrifying to be in that room. Like, honestly, like, the basement gave me creepy feelings. Like, I didn't even like going near the door in the kitchen, but like when we didn't see that part of the house when we were touring the house. They were like, oh, they're still working on the basement. Fucking bullshit. When we went into the basement after we moved in, we were like, this is a place where bad things have happened. And I never went in the basement there again. Yep. That house might have been a little haunted. I had things thrown at me when no one was there. It was a weird time. I really wanted to bring a Ouija board in that house just for shits and giggles. Art has vetoed that. There are very few things that I've ever wanted to do that Art has been like, this sounds terrible, please don't do that ever. Like, I will get upset if you do that in the house. And Ouija boards are one of the things. Ouija boards is like a hard no. He's like, do not bring it in the house. I do not want it. Like, he doesn't even believe in this stuff, but he's like, just in case it is real. How about we don't? Wanted to play Phasma, and I have it, but I have some issues with my Discord, and it might be related to the motherboard and the computer dying. So it's something that like we have to figure out and take care of before I can play it. Yeah. Art has a fun, scary story that he's briefly told me that maybe like on Halloween. If he and I do more co-streaming, maybe like for Halloween next year, we can do like a creepy co-stream. Technology comes to me to die. I treat it as nice as possible. I am so gentle, and things will just break around me. Halloween party? You know, if COVID stops being as big of a deal, yeah, we could have a Halloween party. As someone who just recovered from COVID, I don't want to fucking do it again. Not again! So I'm really upset because for like March 2020 was I was like too broke to go out and do anything for Halloween, or I'm sorry, March 2019 and Halloween 2019 I was like too broke to go out and be able to drink. It was like my first year being 21, and I was like, yeah, I can go out and drink legally now and do the parties, right? I was too broke to do it. I'm like, that's fine, next year I'll do it. Next year was 2020, and everything was shut down and closed, and I was like, no. And then I was like, 2021, we'll take care of this shit, we'll be okay. 2021 rolls around, and we're all still fucking sick. If I have to go I have Halloween costumes in my closet. Sexy Halloween costumes that I have never been able to wear for Halloween. And I am deeply upset. Dresses that fit no other occasion than either St. Patrick's Day party, New Year's party, or Halloween party. And I have never been able to wear them out. So, everyone get vaccinated for the real reasons, and also because I want to go out and enjoy life sometimes. Ooh. This is such a fucking sloppy, like, coloring, like, shading job. This is fucking terrible. Who the fuck do I think I am? This is bullshit. Okay, it's not that bad. Like, zooming out, I'm like, okay, I guess this is tolerable. I totally forgot that Clip Studio has this really cool tool where it's essentially the same paintbrush you're using, but as an eraser! I guess I won't be using it right now. The dresses thing for COVID is it is an actual sore point with me a little bit, because I'm like, I legitimately got the dress and then things went into lockdown. I was like, I wanted to, but dress. And now it just sits in my closet and I just look at it sadly like, I want to wear you out, but you are literally inappropriate except for these very few occasions. No. It's like, no, I can't. It is quite possibly the best Halloween costume I've ever owned, and it is literally 3 articles of clothing, okay? 4 if I get a hat, okay? I'm not just gonna wear it just to wear. I'm wearing it for the right occasion. I'm doing it. It's happening. If there's a Halloween party event, I will make Art dress up too. Halloween time! Halloween is the best housewarming party theme. I don't even know why you have to question it. Just come costume, yes. Halloween is my favorite holiday. It's always been my favorite holiday. Actually, Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday. Halloween has been like a dear favorite since I was a child. But as an adult, Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday because the food is amazing. But I've never like had a good. I've never been to a Halloween party before. I have never been to a St. Patrick's Day party before. I've been to one New Year's Eve party, and I was in high school, and it sucked. So, I've been to like regular house parties. I've been to a National Flag Day party, but I want to go to a Halloween party. I want to do spooky shit. I want to like potentially be trapped in a house with a murderer. That's what I want. That's what I want. It would be so cool. Like, I sound like one of those kids that's like lived in like a one stoplight town their entire life, and they're like, I dream of going to a high school party where there's alcohol. Like, I sound like some podunk kid who has no idea what they're talking about. It's not even like I haven't been invited to these things. I was either just like underage, so I couldn't go to the bars, or I was too broke and had to work on holidays. And now that I finally don't have to work on holidays, everything's been closed. Yep, that is what I sound like. This is worse than my school didn't have owners. And to be honest, I don't even like huge parties. I don't like being surrounded by a bunch of people. I always get really embarrassing when I'm drunk and like get really loud and ridiculous. It just like, I like the concept of, does that make sense? Because I've been to big house parties and I've had a good time, but like the next morning or even like the next week, I have so many regrets. And just, who are you? How did you get my number? Yes, I'm still hungover. I know it's been 3 days. Yes, I've tried drinking water, Mom. Yeah, she looks pretty good. Okay. That's where we're gonna end it for now. Thank you everybody for hanging out. Thank you for coming to the stream. It's really fun to talk to you guys again and to get to say hi to everyone. Thank you, Abs, for saying hi and hanging out. Thank you, Tryhard and Spectre, and I know that Dozeman was here for a while. Thank you for that. I'm just trying to make sure. And I don't want to forget anyone because I really appreciate when you guys come in and say hi and chat. And even if you don't say hi, like, thank you for hanging out. Thank you, Don Woo XD, for following. And yeah, I'm gonna be streaming again tomorrow night from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. again. And yeah, I'll also have a speed paint out tomorrow night at 9:45 p.m. If you like memes, I share a lot of memes on the Discord that's linked in the description and on my Instagram. And my YouTube with the speed paints is right there on the screen. But yeah, thanks again. I hope you guys have a good night. I'm not going to do a raid tonight. I am real fucking tired. Alright, bye guys.